The owners of the New York Mets say they are being denied due process in their defensive charges that they knew Bernie Madoff was a crook. In court papers filed yesterday, Fred Wilpon and Saul Katz say the court-appointed trustee refused to share depositions that would help them clear their names. They are denying any knowledge that Madoff was running a Ponzi scheme. And it's time to let the Willis watchdogs out. Andrea Tantaros is a Fox News contributor. Steve Razor, an attorney with Razor and Kniff. And Jeff Havens, a comedian extraordinaire, Havens. I didn't know I was going to say that.
But you did. It came out nice.
Steve, let's start with you.
All right. Well, it's no surprise to me that Irving Picard, who's the trustee, who's basically acting here as the prosecutor or the plaintiff in the case, is hiding the ball, not putting all the cards on the table. This is something that all defense attorneys have to deal with on a regular basis. It's the most frustrating thing about trying to defend a client when the prosecutor or the plaintiff is not coming up with all the information. That being said, Irving Picard is a smart guy. He's looking for somebody who's got deep pockets. He found them in the Mets and Mr. Wilpon and Katz. Now what he's doing is he's displaying his legal hardware and showing how much force he has behind him, which is basically a legal team that is being paid $1.4 billion by 2014. So right away, before the owners of the Mets are even really getting into plea negotiations, they're just getting into the case. They're already liquidating a quarter of their franchise to plan on a plea bargain.
So
because they know they can't win.
Andrea, what do you make of this?
Yeah, it's incredible, too, that years later, the ripple effect that this case still has. And you look at, I mean, these are smart guys. You got Katz, brilliant businessmen. It just shows you how many people allegedly Madoff fooled. And it's funny, it's not unlike a Stephen King novel. So many smart people, when you look at the list of all these folks involved in the lawsuit, it's not the monster that they see, it's how the community responds to it. And so many people now are going to be forced to pay all this money when a lot of them probably didn't know. I mean, they're getting these big returns. But it's very easy for them to say, you know, Steve, I don't see anything wrong here.
Steve, no offense, but it's really the attorneys who make out.
They do, yeah. No, I'm from the Midwest. I'm a Cubs fan, so I don't really care that much about the Mets. But I would like once in my life for the Mets to be in the news for something good, because they never have been. I think
1986.
Okay, that's fine. It's been a while. That is still in my life. But you're talking about finding a client with deep pockets. He goes from a $700 billion loss to a corrected $300 million profit. That's a $1 billion shift. How do you conveniently forget that you had $1 billion extra dollars? Maybe they're hiding something.
Well, great analysis. Next story, and you're going to love this. Tiny storefront medical clinics in New York are ringing up multi-million dollar, that is, tabs for Medicaid-funded ambulance rides, with annual payouts topping those received even by the city's largest hospitals and nursing homes. The doctor who requested the most patient rides in the state runs a house-turned-clinic and ran up a Medicaid tab of, guess what, $3.4 million, according to the State Department of Health. That's nearly $1 million more than one of the city's largest hospitals. Andrea, this is outrageous.
Yeah, New York has long been plagued with Medicaid fraud. It's a huge issue here. And if you actually go in and root it out, you could save tons and tons of money. As you point out, Jerry, the largest offender isn't even in New York City. He's actually outside of the city, so it didn't even add up. And look, you don't want to deny any poor people the right care, the right ambulance trips, but sometimes you got to look at these Medicaid benefits and say, how much is too much? I mean, they're paying a lot of money. There's a lot of fraud rooted out, and then you have average Americans like us. We don't get free rides to the hospital or to the doctor.
Steve,